Dominus Cinephile.
Welcome to my movie and TV series reviews, where I will provide honest opinions of the latest releases. If the movie or TV series is a hit or a miss, be sure to know I will inform you. But if the movie or series is trash, be also sure to know that I will trash the hell out of the movie. I am Dominus Cinephile.
And the movie on the review table today is the Nollywood film Lakatabu. Lakatabu is a 2024 Nollywood crime thriller that incorporates many of the familiar tropes typical of Yoruba Nollywood films. Directed by Odunlade Adekola, who also stars in the lead role, the film showcases his signature blend of Yoruba action, comedy, and mysticism, creating a drama steeped in his fondness for Yoruba cultural motifs. The cast features the usual lineup of actors frequently seen in his films, including Femi Adebayo, Lateef Adedimeji, Adunni Eniola Ajao, Ibrahim Chatta, Aderinoye Babatunde, Bolanle Ninalowo, Adebayo Salami, Broda Shaggi, and Yomi Fashlanso. Lakatabu follows the harrowing tale of a ruthless kidnapper, played by the renowned Nollywood actor Odunlade Adekola, who uses dark mystical powers to instill fear and chaos in his community. His grip on power seems unstoppable until he makes the fateful mistake of kidnapping a woman who becomes the catalyst for his undoing, setting the stage for a dramatic and inevitable fall. The film's tension builds as the narrative shifts from his dominance to the unexpected consequences of his greed and arrogance. The movie premiered nationwide on June 21, 2024, with Film One Entertainment handling its distribution. According to Film One, Lakatabu grossed 94 million naira in its first week at the Nigerian box office and reached a total of 126.4 million naira by its second weekend. After 4 weeks, the film had earned 181 million naira, and by the end of its theatrical run, it grossed 200.6 million naira, making it one of the highest grossing films at the Nigerian box office this year, according to Film One Entertainment. Impressive numbers, right? Well, that's only if you take Film One Entertainment's figures at face value. But let's not waste time. Let's dive into this review and see if the movie actually lives up to the box office hype. First, let me admit that I deliberately avoided watching this film when it hit cinemas in June. Given the harsh economic realities in Agbado Republic, spending 6,000 naira on a movie I was sure I'd regret felt like a bad idea. And no, I wasn't exactly waiting with bated breath for its release on any of Nigeria's major streaming platforms. Fortunately for us, Amazon Prime made the movie available to Nigerian audiences on October 7th, 2024. I'll try to keep this review as brief as possible because frankly, I'm still struggling to process the sheer madness and stupidity I just witnessed. Where do I even begin? Let's get straight to it. This movie is an absolute disaster, an insult to anyone's intelligence. Nothing in this film works, not the acting, not the cinematography, not the dialogue. It's a chaotic mess that barely qualifies as a movie. The plot kicks off with no foundation or purpose. We're greeted with Odunlade's lifeless body on screen, while another character recites Yoruba incantations, attempting to revive him. Cue the ridiculous CGI, and suddenly a second version of Odunlade's character appears, staring directly into the camera in a laughable attempt to evoke fear. What we get instead are 3 absurd vanishing acts before he finally enters his own dead body. From that point on, the film nosedives into the chaotic nonsense that is Lakatabu. It's hard to believe this made it to production, let alone the big screen. There's absolutely no way anyone who saw this movie in the cinema enjoyed it, let alone applauded it as a masterpiece. Impossible. As I watched, I told myself, if I can make it to 50 minutes, I'll push through to the end. The movie had a runtime of 1 hour and 51 minutes, but even getting halfway felt like a challenge. After suffering through the first scene, the next one had me in hysterics. laughing and crying at the absurdity of what I was witnessing. Femi Adebayo's character appears driving with his wife on an empty road, no other cars in sight, when out of nowhere, Odunlade's character and his gang of criminals dressed head to toe in black attempt a kidnapping. The execution of this scene was nothing short of laughable, weak, stupid, and utterly ridiculous. The entire setup was a chaotic mess, with bullets flying everywhere, yet somehow hitting no one and not even damaging a single vehicle. As for the actors' performances in this scene, completely uninspired, painfully lame, and astonishingly weak. It's hard to imagine anything more lackluster. I still can't wrap my head around why Yoruba Nollywood insists on recycling the same small pool of actors in every single movie. It's the exact complaint I raised in my review of Lisabi, The Uprising, which you can check out on my YouTube channel if you haven't already. It's like a never-ending loop of the same faces directing, producing, and starring in films with different titles, but the same lack of substance. There's no backbone for quality storytelling or strong performances. It's just Femi Adebayo, Ibrahim Chatta, Odunlade Adekola, Toyin Abraham, Lateef Adedimeji, Jide Kosoko, Adunni, Ibrahim Yekini, Gabriel Afolayan, Mike Afolarin, Funke Akindele, and Adebayo Salami over and over again. The same actors, film after film, with no room for growth or fresh talent. So imagine my complete lack of surprise when, out of nowhere, Lateef Adedimeji and Adunni Ade showed up in this film. It's just another round of the same tired formula. Let's talk about a couple of the performances in this movie. Though honestly, I'll only bother mentioning two, because, as I said earlier, I promised myself if I could endure this chaotic mess for at least 50 minutes, I'd see it through. Truth is, I barely made it to 35 minutes before I had to throw in the towel on this utter disaster. Odunlade Adekola, the main star, plays Lakatabu, a criminal with mystical powers. As expected, there was absolutely nothing impressive about either the character or Odunlade's performance. From his makeup to his ridiculous hairdo to his hollow acting, it all fell flat. His character had no depth and his performance was as weak and irritating as it's been in almost every one of his movies. The fact that he directed this film only made it worse. Once again, his overacting, pointless screaming, and unnecessary theatrics took center stage. Why on earth is screaming and overacting considered the pinnacle of acting in Nollywood? It's baffling. Odunlade's overall performance was abysmal, proving once again that there's nothing to write home about. Lateef Adedimeji's character, like his performance, contributed nothing to elevate this film or enhance the story. His acting was just as weak as the lead actors, offering absolutely no depth or significance. In typical fashion, every character in this movie seemed to possess some kind of mystical power, and Lateef's character was no exception. His superpower, he's bulletproof. In Lisabi, he had the ability to summon gods, and now in modern-day Nigeria, he's somehow indestructible. It's basically Lisabi in a different costume. Frankly, someone else should have been cast in this role, as Lateef's performance was nothing more than a recycled version of his previous character. And of course, we get the usual overacting and screaming. Whether he's speaking English or Yoruba, his performance was completely lifeless. His portrayal lacked energy, depth, or any meaningful interpretation, just another flat, uninspired performance. As I mentioned before, I couldn't stand or wait to finish this mess of a movie. After 35 painful minutes, I tapped out and jumped into something far more engaging. The new Tomb Raider animation on Netflix, which was a welcome relief. 35 minutes of Lakatabu was more than enough. The cinematography was abysmal, completely uninspired. The camera angles were dull, focusing mostly on talking heads, with zero dynamism to add any visual interest or elevate the film's quality. Honestly, the entire movie looked like a cheap, poorly shot Nollywood film from the 1990s. the color palette was lifeless, flat and washed out, like a corpse, offering none of the gritty texture or mood you'd expect from a crime thriller. As for the script, it was dead on arrival. The dialogue was so weak and hollow that it barely made any sense. There was no life in the storytelling, no direction, and no pulse throughout. In summary, Lakatabu is yet another weak, senseless production from Nollywood, devoid of any spark or coherent storytelling. The film is lifeless, with an uninspired narrative that drags from scene to scene. The actors' performances were flat, painfully bad, and completely unmotivated, all made worse by a script that offered nothing in terms of depth or meaning. The dialogue was your typical Yoruba Nollywood fare, overacted, filled with shouting, and lacking any nuance. Odunlade Adekola, the lead actor, was just as terrible in his role as he was in his directing. His direction was an absolute disaster, with no creativity, vision, or energy to pull this film out of the mess it created for itself. Lakatabu is by no means a groundbreaking entry into Nigerian cinema. In fact, it's more like the failed twin of Kesari, another complete waste of time. Avoid this disaster at all costs. And now for my rating. Lakatabu scores a well-deserved 0 out of 10. I'm definitely trashing this. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and share this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon for notifications. Also, be sure to follow me on TikTok, WhatsApp channel, and Instagram at Domino Cinephile for more movie and TV series reviews. Domino Cinephile, signing out.